friends, how's it going? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Gabby and welcome to days 3 and 4 of Summerween. Before we do jump into the vlog today, I just wanted to take a second to thank today's video sponsor, which is Book of the Month. Book of the Month is a super popular and fast-growing online book service for readers, and their mission is to promote new and emerging authors and to help readers discover the books that they love. Book of the Month is so awesome because there are hundreds of new releases that come out every single month, and their team vets the top few that they think their audience would be the most interested in reading. And some months they have up to 5 selections, and some months they have even more than that now. They also do a lot of add-ons, which are also very fun. It's nice too because Book of the Month will often have some early titles available, so you can get them from Book of the Month before you can get them anywhere else. And that's great because you can spend more time reading instead of time researching all of the new releases that are coming out. The great thing about Book of the Month is that it's completely risk-free because you can skip any month with no penalty. If for some reason you're not feeling any of the selections that month, you can just skip it and you will not be charged. But I guarantee almost all of the times you are not going to want to skip because they almost always have some of my most anticipated books of the year as monthly selections, and this month is no exception. Plus, they have the best prices for new hardcover fiction books because I swear right now, if you go and walk into your local bookstore, you're going to find a new hardcover book for anywhere from like $26 to $28, maybe even up to $30 now. Like, prices are really going wild. But this month, when you use my code gabbyreads, you can get your first book for just $9.99. $9.99? Are you serious? That's cheaper than most paperbacks? Like, how is this allowed? I don't know, but it's still the deal, so I think you should really take advantage of it while it's still here. My picks for the month of July, I could not be more excited about. I want to scream it from the rooftops because the first book that I chose was Hello Stranger by Catherine Center, and this is a romance that I have been absolutely dying to read because of how much I loved The Bodyguard from this author last year, and so I'm so excited to get my hands on this one and read this as soon as I have it in my hands. And then the second book that I chose this month is, in fact, the new Riley Sager, The Only One Left. This one is actually available as an add-on for this month, so you can add it to your box, and I am so excited to read the new Riley Sager. I'm actually going to be reading it later this week, and Riley Sager is one of my favorite thriller authors, and so the fact that they usually always have the new Riley Sager available for Book of the Month, it makes me so freaking happy. So yeah, definitely be sure to go and check out the link in my description and go and check out Book of the Month if you haven't yet, because I swear that it's worth it. I think you're really gonna love it. If you're a book lover, if you're a reader, you definitely need to check out Book of the Month and take advantage of that deal. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much to Book of the Month for sponsoring today's video, and now let's jump into the reading vlog, shall we? Hello, what's up? How's it going? It's day 3 of Summerween, if you can believe it. We're already on to day 3, and I have had quite a late start. I've had a late start to my morning because I overslept, and right now it's a little bit after 1:30. It's almost 1:30 in the afternoon. I did wake up around like 10:30. I was trying to wake up by like 9:30, but then I shut off my alarm and I was so freaking tired. I think it's because I was up late editing this vlog from yesterday and I didn't get the chance to read last night like I said I would. But then I woke up at 10:30 and I decided to be productive and go to the gym this morning, and so I went to the gym, and then when I came home I made a quick breakfast, and now somehow it's already 1:30 in the afternoon. You know, time is just flying by today. But I did want to let you know that while I was at the gym, I did start on the audiobook for All the Sinners Bleed by S.A. Cosby, and I got about 52 pages in just while I was listening to this at the gym, and this story is really interesting so so far. This is a thriller from one of my favorite authors after Razorblade Tears. He's the same author that wrote Razorblade Tears, which was, you know, one of my most favorite thrillers of all time. So I was really looking forward to this one. And I decided to read this one next because I do have the audiobook from the publisher that was so kindly sent to me. And I also got this from my local library. Like, my local library was able to come through. And this is actually going to be due to my library in like a little bit less than a week. So I was like, okay, I should really get started on this book. And this one is interesting because we're following this man whose name is Titus. And he is the first black sheriff in the history of this really small town in Virginia. And you know, we're talking about, this is a small town that has like barely ever seen any crime in its history. Like, he kind of mentions right at the start that in the recent decades, this town has only had 2 murders. And one of them was like the lady just confessed right away. And then the second one was never solved. But then it's only 1 year after he's the sheriff of this town that something awful happens. And there's a school shooting where a really loved teacher in the town is shot and killed by one of his students, and then his deputies enter the room and like shoot the kid. And it seems kind of shady because there's this question of like, oh well, that kid was going to surrender, like you didn't need to shoot him. And there's all this like debate about what exactly happened in those really intense moments where they walked onto the scene. And I feel like this book is already you know, it's so relevant to today's times because I feel like the conversation about a school shooting is something that's very real and very scary to read about right now. And so I think I'm going to be continuing this one on audio today. I actually, you know, I just came home and I showered because I got back from the gym and I was feeling really gross, so I had to wash my hair and just shower. But now I kind of want to go out to the park, or at least like I want to go out to one of the local parks around here. I am kind of nervous because it's a Sunday afternoon right now and I'm like, the parks are probably going to be so freaking crowded, but I also thought it's such a beautiful day out right now. Like, there's a really great breeze and it's not too hot. And so I thought it would be a really nice day to just go and chill in the park and get started on reading one of these books. I also have a monster in the fridge that I can take to the park with me and I can just chill and read by the water, like if it's not too crowded. I'm also gonna bring my other current read, At Home with the Horrors, with me because since I wasn't able to read the 2 short stories that I wanted to read last night, I was like, maybe I can read those 2 short stories while I'm at the park and just kind of go in between these 2 with whatever I'm feeling at the moment. And so that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go to my park. And also, isn't this shirt just so cute? Killing it since 1978. We got the Michael Myers vibes going on today and the choker, of course. Let's go to my park. Hello, it is just after 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I've been at the park for about 2 hours now. I was reading over by the water, but there were like a few little boys like jumping into the river. There's like a little stream or like a little river that runs through this park, and little boys were like jumping and splashing and just like making a scene right next to where I was sitting. So I was like, oh, they were just kind of being loud and obnoxious, which, you know, it's summertime, it's a weekend, it's fine. So I just decided to come back into my car to read, and it was actually really nice because I was able to like roll down the windows and it's a really nice breezy day, and I've been sitting in the shade out here. And so I wanted to update though because I have still been reading All the Sinners Bleed, and I got about 150 pages into it now. I'm on chapter 12, and this book has been so heavy. Like, I know that I should have expecting this book to be heavy just because of the subject matter, but I feel like this book is even more heavy than I was anticipating. And you know, of course the book book is called All the Sinners Bleed, so of course I should have expected there to be like some religious, you know, undertones and religious things happening in this book, but that was also something I wasn't expecting to be so like heavy-handed, I guess, in the story. And you know, because this story is about, you know, this school shooting, I feel like there's a lot of really dark things happening in this book. And not only is like the school shooting, you know, it's like the first thing that happens in this story, but then the story is really about how this school shooting leads them to discover that there's been this like serial killer in this town that's like been right under their noses. This serial killer in particular has been specifically targeting young Black children. And it's just really tough to read about, you know, because they're discovering all these different things about it. And, you know, as we're following this sheriff on this investigation, you know, like there's a lot of people in the town that are like criticizing the way that he's handling certain things. And, you know, of course, this just feels a little bit too realistic, like the way that this small town is like having these like Confederate parades and like wanting to keep their town the way that it is. And you know, the town just claims that it wants to like keep their traditions, even though some of their traditions are harmful and they are racist. And so this is a very like timely story. This feels very relevant to what's going on in our society these days. And you know, in typical S.A. Cosby fashion, it's just really well written and really hard hitting. But this is just like a really hard to read, you know, because it is so heavy with its themes and its topics. It just feels like one of those books that's got a lot to say, and it's going to be very powerful and very difficult to read some of this. So I decided to take a little bit of a break from this one because of the, you know, it's just a lot of heavy subject matter. And so I did end up picking up At Home with the Horrors, and I read the next 2 short stories. Oh my god, I am absolutely loving these short stories. Like, I am having the best time with this book. So the short stories that I just read, the first one was called Blackbird, and that one was so fucking cool because once again, it kind of had like a sci-fi feel to it because we're following this woman who, her mom has recently died and she's like grieving her mom, and she's going to this doctor to talk about it. And this doctor said that he's doing this experimental kind of like dream study thing where he said that he could have her go into a dream and control the dream and feel like she's talking to her mom again. And the story is called Blackbird because he asks her to like choose a safe word that like if she ever feels like she's in danger or she wants to get out of the dream, she has to use the phrase Blackbird to get out of the dream. And like, oh my god, it was so freaking cool. It was only like maybe like 10 or 12 pages long of a short story, but it was so freaking badass and so cool. I love the idea of like somebody controlling or like being able to control your dreams in some way and then that turning into a horror story. Oh my god, it was so freaking good, so iconic. It kind of reminded me of one of my favorite episodes of Black Mirror, but I can't even say which one because it would kind of spoil things for you. So, you'll just have to trust that that was a good one. That was probably my favorite short story so far in this whole collection. Either that one or Teresa, like, I don't know, they were both so good. And then the next short story that I just read was called The Sisters, and that one was also really interesting. I feel like that one was around like a 4 out of 5 for me. And it was about these older women who were sisters, and you kind of get the story of like their childhood and how they became estranged. Like, they don't really talk anymore because one of the sisters, Edna, they always thought that she was like evil, you know, because she was just like the worst, and she ended up like running away and moving out, and the family like never even looked for her because they knew that she was like evil and they didn't want her in their lives. And then we follow these characters as they're like elderly women, and one of the elderly women, this main character's grandma now, she has dementia or like early onset Alzheimer's, so she's like forgetting some of her memories, and she's saying that she thinks that her sister is haunting her. Like, she has this feeling that her sister's recently died and that she's haunting her because she feels like she's in the house with her now. And so that's essentially the story for that one, and that one's only about 10 pages long as well. It was very short, but it was very creepy and interesting, and I feel like this is a horror book that is having so many of my different favorite kind of like horror tropes within it, because I love that these first 3 short stories have felt very like sci-fi-ish or even like Black Mirror inspired, and then that last one that I just read, The Sisters, kind of had this like haunting paranormal kind of feel to it. I think that one, The Sisters, it also touched on another thing that really scares me in horror, and it's, you know, the idea of aging and like losing your memories and not having control over your own independence independence in your own body anymore, you know, because the whole thing is that they think that this woman is going crazy and they don't know if she's just seeing things or if her dementia is like screwing with her brain and she's not, you know, if she's hallucinating these things or if these things are actually happening and nobody's believing her. And like, that's absolutely terrifying. So I'm loving this so much. I'm debating, I'm probably gonna head back to the apartment now. It's almost 3:30 in the afternoon and I do have some laundry that I need to catch up on. I have some laundry in the dryer. So I think I will listen to this one a little bit more on audio while I do that, but I definitely want to read another 2 short stories from this because holy shit, I am loving this so much. Like, how does this book not have more attention? Because it is so good. Hello, it is the end of the night on day 3. I know it doesn't look like it because of the light in this room, but it's almost 9 o'clock at night at this point. And I had a really good afternoon. After I came home, I spent most of the afternoon still reading All the Sinners Bleed, and then I also was able to read the next 2 short stories in At Home with the Horrors. I made a really great like chicken dinner tonight, and then after dinner I decided to watch The Purge because my sister has been talking about the movie The Purge, and it actually came out the year that I graduated high school in 2013, 10 years ago now, and I still have never seen The Purge. So we decided to watch that tonight, and that was like a really interesting and thought-provoking concept. And then I feel like it's just a movie that's full of potential, and it was just so cheesy and so like not well executed. The acting was pretty terrible, the dialogue was really cringy and also really terrible. But I feel like the idea of The Purge, like they could have done something so cool with the concept of that movie, like the idea of an America where people have 12 hours to like do whatever kind of violent things they want to do and get it all out of their system. Like it is really such a cool concept for a movie. It's almost like Black Mirror-ish. Like it feels like it could be something really cool, but that movie was just not that great. I don't know, it wasn't that interesting. But I did want to update you because I have finished All the Sinners Bleed by S.A. Cosby. I was able to finish it just after the movie. I only had a little bit left. And this book was really good. I feel like as far as my rating goes for this one, I'm probably gonna settle on around like a 4 out of 5 star. And the only reason why I hesitate to give this one a 5 out of 5 is because I don't think I loved this one as much as Razorblade Tears. Like just to compare the 2 books that I read from this author, I think I definitely prefer Razorblade Tears. But I also think that this author, S.A. Cosby, he's so good at writing a really interesting protagonist. He's just so good at writing a character that you care about and that you really get to know throughout the story. Like he's just really good at fleshing out his characters. And I feel like S.A. Cosby is really good at writing relevant conversation topics that are important in America right now and doing it in a very like nuanced way where you just really get to see both sides of the conversation, you know? I feel like this book in particular though, like I don't know if it was like exactly my kind of thing, which is is another reason why I didn't want to give it the full 5 stars, because there is a lot of, you know, heavy-handed religious themes and topics in this book. And to be honest, because I'm not a religious person myself, I don't love reading about religion in my like thriller and horror books. It's just never my favorite topic. And so this is definitely more of a me thing and not really like the book's fault at all, because I definitely should have realized with it being called All the Sinners Bleed that there would be a lot more religion than I was anticipating, but I don't know why, I just wasn't thinking it would go that way. But I just get so uncomfortable reading about like really extremely religious people and extremely religious groups, and there's definitely a lot of that kind of stuff happening in this book. I also do think, you know, much like Razorblade Tears, this one does have some pretty, you know, brutally graphic scenes, like graphic and gory and descriptive scenes. I mean, most of them are kind of happening like off page, like it's not necessarily on page that you're seeing a lot of the brutal things happening, at least for some of it, but it's still very descriptive. And I was just like, oh, like there was a few moments while I was reading the audiobook that I was like, skip ahead, because it was like, it was gross, you know? But I think in this book too, there's definitely a lot of that like small town politics kind of feel to this, and like a lot of like small town police officer, police politics kind of vibes, like people criticizing the choices that the police officers are making and not thinking that they're making the right choices. And you know, of course, this book definitely deals with a lot of really sensitive subject matter, because it's all about like, you know, a school shooting and a serial killer, and there's just a lot of different things happening in this story. And this book was really good. It just wasn't exactly my thing. It wasn't my personal favorite, and that's why it's getting a 4 out of 5. Like, I can acknowledge that this is a really good book and it's really well written. I also did get the chance to read 2 more short stories from this collection, and this has been going very well. Oh my gosh, so the 2 stories that I just read, one of them was called Peeping Tommy, and this one was it was so good. And this short story was about this young boy who, like, after he would get out of school and he's like walking through his little neighborhood, he would start to find a fascination with like looking in people's windows, and like not in like a perverted way, just in like a curious child way. And so every day after school, he's like going and like looking into different houses, and he's like trying to see if he can get caught, and he's just like making a hobby out of it. And then there's one day where he looks into this one house and like everything looks fake, like everything looks like it's like made out of plastic. And then when he looks at the couch, he sees this like person, question mark. He doesn't know if it's like a person or maybe like a mannequin, but they're like pointing at the TV and like smiling and like staring at the TV, and he's like, what the fuck? And then when he like looks away for a second and he looks back, the mannequin or the person thing is just like staring at him and pointing at him through the window, and he's like, what the fuck? And then he like leaves, and then it's about how he starts to get obsessed with like the idea of this house, like he's wanting to go back there to like try to see what he saw was real. Like, I don't know, it was just so creepy. Like, I definitely have a fear of like creepy like mannequin like things, or things that don't appear to be alive but they are somehow or something. Like, I don't know, it was just exactly the kind of short story that I love. So I gave that one 5 out of 5 stars. I loved it. I thought the ending was so interesting and it was just so creative, and I loved it. I loved it so much. And then the next one that I read was this one called Becca. That one was also really interesting. We're following this husband and wife, and the wife's name is Becca, and they're living in this house that's like out in the middle of nowhere. And then the husband, he keeps waking up at night because he thinks that he's hearing something outside, and when he goes and looks out the window, he can see this like really tall naked man standing like in the fucking woods, like right outside of their house. And I'm like, absolutely the fuck not. Because, oh my gosh, I talked about this before, but like one of my biggest icks, like one of the biggest things that gives me the ick in horror books is naked people. Like, naked people watching you, fuck no. That is like one of the scariest things for me. And so that's kind of essentially what that one's about. Like, that one's only 10 pages long. It is really short, really brief, but that one was also really cool, and I really liked the twist that ended up happening at the end of that book as well. I don't know, that one, Becca, I'm still torn whether or not I want to give it 4 or 5 stars, but holy shit, it's so crazy, because usually with like a short story collection like this, there's always at least like 1 or 2 or a few short stories that I don't end up loving in a collection. But this is the most fun I think I've ever had with a short story collection of horror. Like, this is amazing. I can't believe that I've read, what, 6 of the stories so far, and I've enjoyed all of them. Like, this never happens for me. I think for the rest of the night, I'm probably gonna get a head start on trying to edit this vlog vlog so that I'm like, you know, one step ahead of the game. Then I might try to read one or maybe two more short stories from this tonight just because I'm having such a good time with it. I'm not ready to put it down yet. Yeah, anyways, I will update you in the morning with all of my thoughts, and I'm so excited because I think that tomorrow Rachel and I are going to go to a lake, and we're gonna be going to our favorite lake, like one of my favorite places in all of Washington, and I haven't gone there in like over a year. Like I honestly can't remember if I even made it up there at all last summer. Like it's been so long since the last time that I've been to this lake, so I could not be more excited about going to this lake tomorrow. I'm so I'll see you tomorrow. It's day 4 of Summerween, if you can believe it. We're already on day 4. This is going by very fast. But we are here at Silver Lake. This is my favorite place in all of Washington. And it's so crazy, like I haven't been here in so long and it feels so good to be back here. We just stopped by our local coffee spot on the way up because we just wanted to pick up some breakfast sandwiches and a scone and some iced coffee, and it's just been a really chill vibe so far. But I did bring some books with me. I did not get the chance to read any more from At Home with the Horrors last night, so I might read 1 or 2 more short stories from this today. But then I also did bring The Lake House because I think this would be like literally the perfect book to read while sitting on a lake. I was kind of hoping the audiobook would come through for this one before today, but that has not happened yet. So I'm just going to be trying to read this with my eyeballs. So like, pray for me. And then Rachel's also gonna be reading maybe today. Oh, can you, The Last Time I Lied, let's go. It's one of the only Riley Sagers she has not yet read.
Yeah, I didn't read Final Girls either, but
yeah, she hasn't read his first 2. So like, very exciting stuff. She's gonna be reading the new Riley Sager. I'm gonna be reading this Lake House book.
It's not the new Riley Sager.
What?
You said the new Riley Sager.
Oh,
I did already read.
Rachel's going to be reading a Riley Sager. My bad. A Riley Sager. I'm gonna be reading The Lake House. Both of her books have lake vibes, dude.
I know.
Oh,
that's why I brought this one.
wow. That's actually so iconic for us.
Oh my god, look at that dog on a fucking paddleboard.
There's a dog on a paddleboard right in front of us, like how freaking cute. And
Oh,
also,
OMG.
there was like a whole gender reveal party happening back here, and they like exploded this cannon and a bunch of pink confetti just like blew out, and I was like, good news, it's a girl. You know, I really thought it was gonna be sunny today. I'm literally wearing a bathing suit under this. Like,
It's really cold.
I thought I was gonna go swimming today, and I literally
so
picked
cold.
the coldest day out of this whole week so far to come to the lake. It's only like 65 degrees today, and like the sun hasn't even come out yet. It's very like foggy and cloudy, which I don't mind. Okay, I do love the vibes outside today, but I'm really like, I thought I was gonna go swimming today. Like I brought sunscreen and like I was ready to do the whole lake thing, and then I was like, thank God I brought a hoodie just in case because it's actually really cold. Hello! I just wanted to update because we are back at the apartment after being at the lake for a few hours this morning and this afternoon. It's about 3:30 right now, but I did want to update because while I was at the lake, I was able to start on the lake house and I got 110 pages in while I was reading there. You know, I tend to forget how easy it is to read young adult books. Like, it is very easy to get into. The writing is very simplistic. It's almost a little bit too simplistic, if I'm being honest. But in this story, we're following this young girl named Claire, and her parents basically drop her off at this place called the Lake House that's supposed to be like a summer camp, I guess. And it's just her and two other girls. And I guess, I don't know, I'm kind of confused because I guess at the beginning, her parents drop her off somewhere, but it's not exactly at the lake house, but she meets the two other girls and then they all go to the lake house together. And then by the time they get to the lake house, they realize that it's been completely burned down to the ground and like there's nothing there except for like a bunch of ash. And they're all like, okay, what the fuck? Like, that's weird, you know? And so I'm like, why wouldn't her parents have like, I don't know, like made sure that she was good before they just like dropped her off in the middle of nowhere? Like, I don't really understand what happened there, I guess. And so now she's with these two girls. They're out in the middle of nowhere. They don't have any cell phone service and they don't know if anybody's gonna like come to rescue them because I guess they're supposed to be at this, you know, lake house place for a while. And so they start like looking around in the woods like right next to them and they find this body and they realize that this body died potentially by like a gunshot wound, and they start to realize like, oh my god, like something might have happened, like something must have happened. They don't know where all of the like camp counselors and like all the adults went, and so they start to assume that something bad happened and like maybe all the people that were there died and that there's a killer on the loose. And so I don't know, I feel like at about 110 pages in, it's just now starting to kind of like pick up in story for me because I feel like those first 100 pages just kind of everything that I just explained that the premise gives away is what's happened so far. So I've just been kind of like, okay, yeah, like, I don't know. It seems like our main protagonist, Claire, she deals with quite a bit of anxiety. Like, she's been talking a lot about how she has like really bad anxiety problems, and that's part of the reason why her parents were wanting her to go to this camp in the first place, was to like, you know, put herself out there more and like make friends and like have new experiences. And so she's definitely going into, you know, like survival mode of like, we need to find water, we need to find food, we don't know how long we're going to be out here for. And so it's kind of had, I don't know, it's been a little bit of a slow start for me, but I'm at the point now 100 pages in where things are really starting to pick up and get interesting. I'm 9 chapters in, and now at 9 chapters into the story, it feels like we're really starting to get those like eerie vibes, like they feel like there might actually be a killer on the loose and like somebody's watching them potentially, and so they feel even more afraid for their lives because they don't know exactly what's going on. It also has really great ambiance of like these girls in the woods. Like, it has good atmosphere in that sense, even though I could use even more of that. But yeah, so far it's been going well. I think I am just gonna read a little bit more today before we have dinner. I don't really know what our plans are for the rest of the night, but I want to try to get as much of this one done today as I can.
Sweet boy. Sweetheart.
How's it going? It's about 7:30, it's almost 8 o'clock at night, and I wanted to update you because I have finished the lake house. We ended up doing like a quick simple dinner tonight. We just picked up a few things from Safeway and it was very not fancy. But earlier tonight I was able to finish reading The Lake House, and this was a really quick read because even though this book is about like 340 pages, it just reads so simplistic. Like, it's a really easy book to fly through. And unfortunately, I feel like this one is probably gonna end up being around a 2-star for me. I just didn't really enjoy this one. You know, I think it's so wild how boring this book is for being about this subject matter, you know, because you would think that with a story that's about this, you know, wild, unhinged man running through the woods chasing these girls, you would think it'd be a little bit more action-packed, but I feel like so much of this story was so boring and so repetitive and so so slow, and it was basically just these three girls out in the wilderness like making bad decisions that was very frustrating. And most of the story I felt like was just them wandering around being like, where am I gonna get food next, and where am I gonna get water? Oh my god, like, can these berries, like in the woods, like, can we eat these berries? It was just like a lot of that, like survival stuff. And then it was like these girls trying to get to know each other, and they would just be like, what's your favorite color? Like, I don't care, you know, like, what are you even talking about? And then also like the writing itself I just thought was very repetitive, because I was like, if I have to hear these other two girls say to our main protagonist Claire like one more time of like, oh, I swear I can hear you thinking, Claire, because of her anxiety. Like, yeah, dude, Claire has bad anxiety, and this situation that they're in is not ideal, so of course she's gonna be in like worst case scenario mode for like this entire book. I could not care less about any of these characters, and their conversations were just so shallow, and like the writing in general was so shallow. Especially highlighted this one part that I just thought this is like an example of the writing style in this book. It says, but out here it felt as if the rain was an enemy who hated them with a hateful hate. The rain was an enemy who hated them with a hateful hate. Like, that's the most poetic line you could come up with as an author. I don't know. It just felt very uninspired. It felt very juvenile. I mean, I know this is a young adult book, and I recognize that, but it still just didn't really bring anything new to the table as far as like the genre goes. It just felt very simplistic and very basic. Gosh, like the ending of this book just didn't deliver on anything that I thought that it could, because I feel like it had one of those like cheesy movie villain type of tropes coming in, and the characters just felt like they got so much more cringy and just like obnoxious during the end. I was just like, what is going on? So this one sadly did not end up working out for me. It just got a little bit too repetitive and obnoxious, and it really felt like a young adult book, you know? I feel like sometimes you read young adult books and you're like, yeah, this is a book that I can recommend to people of all ages, and then sometimes you read young adult books like this where it's like, no, this is definitely for young adults if it's gonna be for anybody. I do think later tonight I am going to attempt to read the next two short stories from this, just because I'm having such a good time with this. Like, this is definitely turning out to be one of my favorites. I was even talking to my friend Brittany last night about this, you know, because we're both buddy reading this together right now, and she's also saying that she's loving every single story, and this might be the most successful short story collection that I've ever had. Like, can you even imagine how great that would be if I ended up loving all of these? And so in the next vlog, I am so excited for the next vlog, because I'm gonna be reading the new Riley Sager. I'm probably gonna be reading this one tomorrow on day 5, and I am just so freaking excited. Oh my god, I've been waiting for so long to get my hands on this one, and so this is definitely happening. I'm also probably going to be reading the new Eric LaRocca, Everything the Darkness Eats, because this is the one that I was saving for the prompt of reading a book in the dark, and so I'm probably going to be reading this one in the dark during these next couple of days. And then hopefully, if I have time to get around to The Quiet Tenant, I would also love to include this in my Summerween TBR, so hopefully this will also be happening in the next couple of days, and I'll be finishing up at home with the horrors. So I have so much to look forward to. Thank you so much for watching and for hanging out with me, and I can't wait for the next Summerween vlogs. I hope that Summerween is going well for you. You'll have to let me know in the comments how Summerween has been going for you so far, and if you've read any of the books that I'm reading during this vlog and during this, you know, readathon, let me know what you think of those as well, and I will see you very soon with another vlog. Bye!